have really launched into opportunities to develop corporations and what they called for many years the corporate athlete. And the Human Performance Institute was a standalone entity. It was acquired by Johnson & Johnson in 2008. And for the first 12 years in Johnson & Johnson was a commercial business for us. It operated as part of our healthcare sector, as part of our health and wellness set of businesses, and has done, a tremendous job for us in building brand equity with other companies, helping to teach and broaden these skill sets of energy management and resilience across many, many companies. So we have, clients that span all industries and nonprofits and for-profit companies. But we made the strategic decision early this year to make the Human Performance Institute really focus much more internally than ever before. And while obviously we had been taking advantage of its programs, we merged the legacy Human Performance Institute with our talent development function so that it became truly our new brand for learning and development at Johnson & Johnson. And now provides us with this holistic view of what leadership really is and what leaders need to do and how to develop not only the capabilities, but the capacity and the character to lead. And so that's what we're really focused on now, is focusing, primarily on our employees internally with all the amazing things that the Institute has done. And then our strategic customers will continue to be served as we move forward. And we're ending our commercial operations, our general commercial operations, at the end of 2020.
Oh, that's really interesting. So you are flipping from having an external focus to being 100% focused on J&J employees?
Correct. Well, I mean, not 100%. I mean, we'll still service our strategic customers. So these would be, in the pharmaceutical space, these would be some of the insurance groups. Medical device space, this is hospital systems. In the consumer space, this is, the CVSs and Walmarts and Walgreens of the world, so on. So there's still some external focus for sure. But I mean, it's kind of the equivalent of, the Disney Institute flipping from being focused externally to coming inside and really trying to drive massive culture change within the business.
Just out of curiosity, Clint, this is Danny. Why was that decision made? What drove that decision?
Well, I think there's a desire for us to better. Well, one, I think in this world, the future of work and all the trends that drive around, are kind of showing, the importance of purpose and the importance of leadership development. We realized we had an amazing asset on our hands that was not doing as much good internally as it was externally. And at the same time, we had an opportunity with some of our internal programs and the positioning of our offerings. And so being able to combine these gives us, a platform that allows us to do, a lot more good when we've got now a facility based in Orlando. So in some ways, it's to use the GE analogy, right? It's kind of a smaller version of Crotonville, but it's all geared around, the holistic person. So it's not just facility with a bunch of classrooms. I mean, this facility is designed to be able to allow us to run our performance program, which requires, that people participate in, exercises, and, we help guide them through different ways and means that they can increase their physical energy. We talk and teach a lot about how to eat right and how that drives energy and the quality of energy. And also, some of the health assessments that we're able to run through that facility. So there's a lot of, benefits that we're going to get internally by having the intellectual property, the facilities, the brand, kind of the process excellence that the Human Performance Institute brings.
Can you talk a little bit about the population in J&J, how many people work there, kind of job roles, and what are the demographic trends that you have?
Yeah, so we have about 135,000 employees across the world. Roughly half would be in our supply chain organization. We're in all of the major countries and all regions. So, I mean, we're truly I would call it a global organization, not just a multinational organization. And in terms of demographics, I mean, I think the reality is that I feel like we're very similar to other global and multinational companies in the sense that we're moving and have seen evolution from, this focus on the full-time employee to growing numbers of, contractors. And I see in the future, the move towards, gig workers and kind of more flexibility as our talent wants and expects different opportunities and flexibility from Johnson & Johnson. And certainly the business wants to take advantage of that. So, I see us moving from the talent management space, or the traditional more talent management space, into something more like talent access, right? And how do we always make sure that we're finding the best and the brightest for the work that's at hand? And that may come directly from within Johnson & Johnson, and it may come from partnerships and relationships that are adjacent to Johnson & Johnson.
Oh, that's really interesting. And you've alluded to this a number of times already. It's pretty clear that the company operates with a clear sense of purpose and mission. Can you just lay that out for us?
Yeah, so Johnson & Johnson has long been a purpose-based organization, and I would venture to say we're probably the original purpose-based organization. I don't have data or facts to kind of back that up, but the story of our founders and what they were trying to achieve and to accomplish was certainly much more about purpose and a broad impact in the world than it ever was about profits.
We've been talking to quite a few people. We've done some research on purpose over the summer, and especially how COVID has affected that purpose. We found that purpose is a little bit flexible in some organizations when it comes to large disasters. Your credo is really interesting to me. It's always been really interesting to me, but just hearing you talk about it, where you're basically saying, we must do this, we must do this, we must do this. Doctors, employees.
Yeah, so it's our doctors, nurses, patients, then our employees, then the communities, and then our shareholders.
If you do all those things, then shareholders should be taken care of, which I think is a really interesting way of looking at it. We see a lot of organizations proclaim to be purpose-driven, but when it comes right down to it, profit comes first. Talk to me about how that credo sort of makes itself known in the culture.
Yeah, so when I interviewed 3 years ago, that was a big question that I was asking as well, because I think all of us have been in or have friends that work in companies where they have grandiose mission statements and whatnot, but they kind of live on the wall and that's about it. And I will say that it's hard to find a facility and in a room where you're not going to find the credo hung, prominently on display. But no, our credo really comes alive in how we make decisions on a daily basis. And, I think front and center in everything that's gone on in 2020, both from the health pandemic as well as the pandemic of social injustice and racial inequalities, Johnson & Johnson has, made decisions that are based in our credo around what we need to do. We a line from our credo says, we must respect the diversity and dignity of our employees. And I think it's what's happened this summer, with the social injustices has forced us to have, more deep conversations with ourselves and with our vendors around what are we doing and how do we ensure that we are living up, fully to our credo. And we are one of the best and constantly recognized in the world of diversity and inclusion for the efforts that we're making, but we're not satisfied with that, and believe that we continue to need to live into this line in the credo as well as many others. And another piece of work that I can cite this year is that we've come up with a purpose and career planner. So it's a body of work that allows our employees to be able to step back and think about what is their purpose and how does that really align with Johnson & Johnson, with their jobs. And we believe that is helping us fulfill the credo as well. We have a line again in paragraph 2 that says our employees must have a sense of security, fulfillment, and purpose in their jobs. So on top of traditional methods of engagement surveys and things that we would do to be measuring these, we're out there actively trying to have conversations with our employees, help our managers have great conversations with their employees around what their skill sets are and how do we help them navigate this giant organization, but an organization with a big heart that wants to help people find this fulfillment and purpose. And, we're not naive. We know that the greater productivity, greater results happen when people find meaning and purpose in their roles. And so it's really kind of a win-win.
I think this is particularly interesting because engagement has been such a big discussion in the last 5 or 6 years. And most of the engagement surveys that I read are, hey, are you happy? Like the whole goal is to determine whether an employee is happy or not. I'm imagining that because of your credo and because of your purpose, your engagement survey may look a little bit different than others, getting to the heart of, how do you feel purpose in your work rather than are you happy with what you're doing?
No, I'd like to think so. I mean, I think we also have room to continue to tweak and fine tune, how we ask some of these questions, but we definitely are interested in more than just the kind of typical engagement questions.
And kind of along with that, Clint, HR is involved in putting people practices into place in organizations. How does your purpose drive some of those aspects differently than they would in other organizations?
That's where probably the Credo comes in the most, because we have our priorities in terms of what we need to do and how we need to do that. And so I think, really just having, that people lens on our business and being able to use that as a kind of a balance to some of the business decisions that we make is really kind of what role HR plays. And, I don't think anybody would say that we've always gotten it right, but we probably get it right most of the time, and certainly have learned from, times and moments when we haven't got it as right. And I think part of the purpose of something like the Credo is that there's also no clear-cut answer, right? And we use it as a set of guiding principles that help drive debate and discussion around what the right path forward is. These things do have to balance out, and I don't know that one shareholder or stakeholder in Credo can outweigh the others. And so it's constant weighing out.
It's not like a simple tool to help you make complex decisions really simple. But I'm interested in sort of coming in as a talent professional from the outside, and you think about the kind of suite of functions that a talent professional does, hiring and retaining and developing and performance managing and all those kind of things. What's your take on how this strong sense of purpose and in the culture of this organization, does it help any of those things particularly? Is there one of those functions where it makes a huge difference? And are there even functions where it makes things more complicated?
I think we're trying to fully live into a lot of that a bit more. So I think, certainly you can come to get into functions like HR, and, there may be probably very stereotypical of many HR functions, people that are very passionate about developing and growing other people and helping them to be their best. And you can go to our global community impact team, and I'm sure, find people that are extremely passionate about how they represent Johnson & Johnson, how Johnson & Johnson can help, some of these nonprofits and, expand our influence in parts of the world that maybe not be able to afford or as readily afford some of the things that we do. But I think, one of the opportunities that I saw was coming in from the outside was that we talk and you feel so much about purpose, but you didn't see it as much in our processes and strategies as I would have expected. And so we have been on a journey to do that. And so, one of the big strategies that we have in the development space is this notion of a personalized career path. And how do we help create genres of careers or career archetypes that our people can begin pursuing? I think with the democratization of information in social media and mobile phones and whatnot, I think people have more occasions to question and to learn and to try and decide like what they want to be when they grow up. I think we're all kind of trying to continue to answer those questions. And, in a company, you have so many different avenues that you can be pursued. And some people are very clear from the very beginning about what that is, and that North Star gets set out, and they just want to know what is the path to get there. And others are looking for, a variety of experiences and trying to kind of navigate the organization. So what we're trying to do is provide some avenues where those that are clear can pursue those, whether that's being an expert and being valued, having that role of an expert being valued across the enterprise, or being a very broadly based commercial or enterprise leader or somewhere in between. And that, there's also the opportunities to kind of declare where you were at based on what your purpose is. And if that also necessitates a change, there are implications. You can't automatically go from having a depth of expertise to being a broad,